Hot diggity damn, we're back with another episode of World 1-1 Podcast. Quick tease on the third half of the show this week. We're talking about the industry-wide sweeping layoffs that have been happening everywhere and seemingly show no signs of stopping. Beyond that, a quick note, you can and should subscribe to our show if you're listening, if you haven't already, in your favorite podcatcher or on YouTube if you want the video version. And make sure you share with your friends if you enjoy this. And if you hate this, share this with somebody you don't like, but they don't know it yet. Just a way to secretly make them miserable in life. That's our gift to you, no matter what. Quick note too, you can and should jump into our Discord. There's a link in the show notes down below, and come chat with us. Come say hi. Shout out to our awesome sponsor, Imaginary Authors, helping you up your scent game. More about them before the break. And let's dive right in, because I am, as always, your host, Roll to the Wall. Joining me this week are my friends and my family. We've got Riker. You know, that's audio, right?
You know, that's
You're almost
Mike,
as bad as Michael. That's Michael.
I didn't know what
yeah.
to say.
It's not. It doesn't work.
You can hear the head rattle. Though, in all fairness, with Michael, when he nods, you actually can hear his head rattle.
Sweet Jesus.
Well, no, he's got the tunnels, but then he's got the horseshoes through them, so you can hear the jingle.
right.
Oh,
That's fair.
It's like a rattle bait on a fishing line.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Exactly. It's kind of
that's why
great.
I wear plugs.
I've seen someone with like chains, like it looks like chain links, and I want a pair so bad.
Ooh, that sounds.
And there's my lovely wife, Zoe,
Yo, what up?
and my right-hand man, Josh the LeGroux.
Yep.
All right, let's dive right in with, oh my God, video games. Riker, what have you been playing this week?
Mostly The Sims.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How are your Sims?
Well,
Are
I've
they
been,
simming right along?
honestly, I'm not in love with the storyline that I'm doing right now. I kind of like the one I was doing before, but I accidentally killed all my Sims, so I had to start over.
Accidentally, huh? I'm sure the
Yeah.
judge will believe that.
Yeah, well, it was accidental on purpose.
You
He
only
deserves-
set the house on fire after you removed all the doors and windows.
I wish I could set a house on fire. That'd be fantastic.
For legal reasons. That is a joke. For legal reasons,
Probably,
that is
maybe.
a joke.
It's The Sims.
I built
Maybe,
a shed in the
probably.
backyard and let him starve.
It's like when I was describing Red Dead 2 to somebody at work, and I was like, I killed this guy, and then this guy like called the cops, and then I killed this guy.
Jesus.
All of these are jokes.
So what's our new story for these Sims that you don't like as much?
They're vampires. Okay, they're vampires, and I found out that if the kids grow up in the household, they're more likely to let my vampires feed on them. So I've started adopting the max amount of kids, and I dress them up as the child from The Mandalorian, and I have them worshiping a statue of the Mandalorian on the mantle in the living room. They got like the shoes and the hands and everything, and then when they hit like 16, 17, then I feed on them, and if they don't let me, I kick them out of the household. That's what I got going on right now.
Jesus. Though I see that look on Zoe's face, and you're suddenly contemplating if you should be checking out The Sims, knowing that you can just have a whole vampire house. Because
Right.
Zoe only has like the world's most hardcore fucking vampire fetish.
You know what? I blame my parents. They let me watch Blade when I was way too young, and Deacon Frost was way too sexy. I blame, like, I part of me feels sad that Deacon Frost was my first vampire crush, but then there's another part of me that's like, there are worse options.
Says the person that falls in love with every fictional red flag they can find on screen.
Okay, but same.
I'm
Same.
not supposed to do it in real life. That urge has to get out somewhere. Okay? Okay. Fuck off. How about you talk about what you've been playing? Let's just focus on that. What have you been playing, babe?
Well, we're not done
let's
yet.
see.
Oh, we're not done. Sorry, I cut off Riker. Riker, do you have anything to add about what you've been playing?
Yeah, there's a pack I want. So I started playing. I play mostly on my PlayStation, but I found out on my PC I can have mods, and I now have good enough computer to do that. And so I've been
Nice.
playing with the mods, but I found out that there is a way to. Can this be PG-13? Is this allowed?
This is whatever we decide we want it to fucking be.
PG-13. Are you new?
Yeah,
here?
we've hit X-rated plenty in years past.
Okay. All right. So I found out that there's this pack called Back to Work. And if I purchase that pack, I can then use mods to create a strip club. All right. So I get the strip club going. And then in the back of the strip club, I can run a drug cartel. And then in the basement, all the people that owe the drug cartel money, I can use to feed my vampires in the basement. So I'm thinking,
Oh
that
my
this is
god.
what I want to do.
Oh, I'm loving this. Keep going.
I'm sad Michael's not here to just squeal in glee at this,
Oh,
because he
this is-
would.
It's his fault. His fault. You had to
Well,
go
and
out
I
to eat.
that many steps because the people don't like it. The town folk don't like it when I just grab random Sims and feed on them. So this all needs to be done like with good reason and slowly. And the only way to, weed out the ones that deserve to be fed on until they're dead is drug cartel.
Oh, Lord.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
Knowing you, none of this shocks me, though. That's the problem. This
I'm
is
not
just
even
par for
phased
the
by
course
this.
with
I know
love.
you guys are like all like, oh
No, I'm not shocked. It's more just like, I love this. Keep going. Like, just tell me more. I am thoroughly invested.
Zoe, I feel like you're about 2 steps away from roping them into playing fucking werewolf.
There's a werewolf.
No, I actually just joined a vampire game, so they could join that too. What? Come at me, bro.
I'm just saying, it's bound to happen at this point. So, dear, what have you been playing?
You know what I've been playing, and I feel like the audience is going to get tired of me talking about it, but Darksiders, because that's what I'm on. I'm pretty deep now into Darksiders 2. And while, yes, I have adjusted now to Death's mechanics, I don't like them. Like, he's got way more of like a Prince of Persia kind of feel, like, hopping and climbing and parkouring his way through fucking life. And I'm like,
He's more nimble and agile.
yeah. And I'm like, I want to be a beat stick again. Like, that's one of the, like, okay, so cool thing about War, not only could his like dodge, just move the fuck out of the way, it also had an ability where if you shot it at an opponent, it would knock them back and cause damage. And that was fucking useful. And, it took forever, and I finally got it. But for the longest time, there was no, like, parrying ability. And I'm like, is this dude just incapable? Or, like, what the fuck? But I just got one, and it's like, yeah, no, now if you, dodge carefully, a basically, like, form of death will cause damage. And I'm just like, it shouldn't take this long into the fucking game. Like, because I looked at the walkthrough, I think I'm like halfway through the fucking game, and that's how long it took to get a fucking parry move. And I'm like, are you kidding me? It's the stupidest shit ever. and like, and then the story isn't even as interesting as the first one. Like, it's literally falling into the like the whole rule about sequels, and that sequels like suck. And I get that they wanted every single one to be different, and I really fucking get that. But I'm like, you can't follow up War with this. Like, I'm sorry, but like, War seems it like his journey just seemed a lot more interesting, and you're more invested because he was fucked over, and you're trying to get to this like who done it kind of fucking mystery, and it is more compelling. Where this Death is just trying to clear War's name by bringing back humanity, and then he has to do all these tasks for these other people in order to get what he wants. Like, he's like, hey, I need your guys' help with this. Well, first you got to go do this. Oh, well, to go do this task, you got to first go do this. And then to do this task, you got to first go do this. Like, it's just so... Like, I'm going to play it, and I'm going to finish it. I plan on rolling credits on it, because it's part of the series, and I will see it through. But, like, right now, my biggest disappointment is the story, because I just don't give a fuck.
Now, for more on how to do a sequel right, see our recent episode, Anatomy of a Sequel.
And I just don't care. Like, there was this whole thing in the beginning where, like, all these souls of other Nephilim that, like, Death killed, it got stuck in his chest. And I was like, are we gonna fucking acknowledge that? When are we getting to that? Like, this happened, like, the beginning, I was like, oh, well, fuck, there's this huge thing, but it doesn't seem to be affecting him, you know? Like, his whole mission is for something else. It does not really, like, the Death could literally just go, like, nah, I don't give a fuck, and it wouldn't really matter, you know? Like, other than saving War. And I'm like, considering you've already played as War, and he kind of fixed his own shit, I don't care anymore.
This is where I wish Michael was here.
Like,
Right.
I don't care anymore, because I'm like, I know it's gonna be okay. Like, I know War's gonna be fine.
Right.
I mean, don't get me wrong, the end of the first game, like, War's got some beef with the fucking
Or
council.
he's not gonna be fine. Yeah. Right.
I mean, he's not fine as in, like, totality, but as far as, like, trying to clear his name and that he didn't do shit wrong, you realize he kind of, in a way, cleared his own name, because he got fucked over, but now everybody knows that he got fucked over.
Right.
So, like, clearing his name was never a thing that they were planning on happened, because they knew it wasn't him in the first place. But now that everybody knows, you know, it's not as bad. So knowing that War is fine and this no longer matters, I don't care about Death's mission. I don't. And that's making it really hard to, like, stay engaged with the story. Like, when I was playing the other one, Raul would come to me and he'd be like trying to talk to me, and I'm like, shh, I got the big bad going on, like, I can't concentrate on you right now. And now, like, if I'm fighting some big monster dude, I just hit pause and I'm like, hey, what do you want? Like, I don't care, and that's what's killing me right now. Sorry, went on a whole fucking tangent, but that's what I've been playing. And that's what I've been playing, and that's how I feel about it. Like I said, I will roll credits, but I cannot wait to be done with this game.
It's valid. So, LeGrew, what have you been spinning in your disc tray?
So I have not been doing much. I did start Final Fantasy VII, not Rebirth, Final Fantasy VII Intergrade on my PS5. So,
which one is Intergrade now?
Okay, so that's Final Fantasy VII, the remake, and that is the expansion, like the DLC for the remake. So I played it up to the point where I can actually start. It's Intergrade, which, if you're a Final Fantasy VII nut, it is the before the game kind of goes to the overworld in the original. So it's just kind of like giving up that little bit of content before Final Fantasy VII Remake ends and Final Fantasy VII Rebirth begins. So I'm playing that. But I had to play the whole game over to get to that point. So I've been working on it. for a little bit. So that's just what I've been doing. And then after that, I have not been doing much for gaming because work has been pulling me all sorts of directions this week, which I don't enjoy, to be honest
I
with
know
you.
that feeling.
Yeah, but it's just the way it works. So I got that. I'm playing that. I'm really into that right now. I don't think it's going to take that much time. And I'm not sure if I'm going to go to Rebirth right away or am I going to just play a backlog game and then wait. I might need, the way I work is I might need a little bit of space in between the big RPGs, right? So I might need
Yeah, you need a palate cleanser.
yeah, I might need something to do, something to have, hey, could I finally play God of War Ragnarok that I have 2 collector's editions for? Maybe I should play one of that game, right? Or should I just like play something else? And it's coming. I just not really sure what yet. I'll know when I get there. I'm kind of like the way
You'll probably bounce off a dozen games until one of them grabs you.
That's pretty much what I do. I just like, oh,
Same.
play this. Nope. And I know I don't want a big game, but I also know I don't want like this game, right? So I'll bounce off a lot of shit, I'm sure. But right now, that's what I'm doing. I'm just kind of finishing it up. I hope to finish that up in the next day or two.
Okay. Let's see. I've mostly been playing IRL Sims, which involves making sure the house doesn't burn down, trying to keep the place in order, fixing appliances, which we were doing earlier today. I don't think I've actually really gotten to fucking play anything this week, truth be told. It was only yesterday that I hooked up one of the docks for the Switch again in the house after the fundraiser tournament last weekend. That's all still just been sitting on the dining room table until yesterday. I've still got to get the rest of that put away, but that's a whole different thing. But yeah, I wanted to. I want to poke at Control, but I've got to be in the right headspace for that to at least try and muddle further until I start hitting a groove with it. But I mean, we talked about that last week. It's so hard to hit a groove with Control.
So curiosity, how far are you into the game?
I just got the telekinesis power.
Okay, so you're just getting there. Okay.
Yeah. So
I think you're gonna like it. I know you're not really as much into it as I am, but
I like it. I'm just having problems hitting a groove where I can stay playing it for long sessions.
I get that. I think after the telekinesis power and the game starts, and you just kind of like put some of the idiosyncrasies of the game away, like you're like, oh, this is the way it works. Like once you get that point, I think you're gonna really like it.
Probably. I'm not denying it. Like I said, I enjoy what's there. I like the story. The story's got everything in it that interests me. It's just the gameplay, the world, the fucking layout, the map, and the lack of like any sort of waypoint system is really irritating, and it makes it hard for me to latch on.
I understand that. Yep.
That's my problem here. And I'm sure the more I play it, it will eventually hit its groove, and I'll, find a night.
You're playing this on Series X?
Yeah.
Okay. So I played this on the 1X,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm just letting you know that was harder because of the load time. So I'm at least glad that you're getting those faster load times.
Yeah. The fancy upgrade edition just hit Game Pass, actually.
Oh, did it? Okay.
It did. So that's a thing. I don't know if I can like access that and keep my save file though,
I think you can actually.
So, because I just bought the standard edition on sale a few weeks ago, like a month ago, for like $8. But
the ultimate edition is on Game Pass, is what you're saying?
Yeah. So,
like I said, Ultimate.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure you can access it, but I honestly
I just don't know if my save will transfer over and I can just
keep
going. Because I'm not gonna lie, I don't want to fucking redo that beginning again.
No, but I'll tell you.
I also think part of my problem too is that we've got the big pretty 4K TV upstairs in the bedroom, and I'm usually playing during the day, and it catches a fucking nasty glare because idiot cat tore up
It's
the
very dark.
blinds and all this shit. Yeah, it's not even that it's dark. It's honestly pretty bright. Like the red and the white. The white does such a washout job on
Yeah, you're right.
everything.
Yeah,
And then you stack a glare on top of that, it's very difficult.
No, I
Now,
agree.
ironically, that white and red color scheme, I can play up there in the middle of the day with the windows open with super hot without a problem. But Control has a lot more nuance to its visual than the stark contrast that super hot does.
Yeah.
Which reminds me, I need to finish playing super hot VR so I can get the rest of the story. Because if anybody's ever played super hot and you've not played the VR version and you get the chance, play it, because it is not the same game in VR. It's actually the other half of super hot's story. They're two separate stories that hook together.
Right.
So there's a fucking cool thing for you, and I do want to fucking finish that. That, and I've had a urge to get back into playing some Pistol Whip, and I've kind of just been wanting to crack out the Oculus again. Not to mention, too, Beat Saber just got a shockingly just now DLC pack of Daft Punk music. And I saw that and I'm like, wait a minute, how did it take this long? Like, now that they're not even fucking together anymore?
That's the way it works.
Right. There's definitely a few in there that I'm shocked aren't in Beat Saber's roster, but which is because Beat Saber honestly has a lot of like deep cuts in it too, not just the poppy stuff. So I mean, honestly, I'm a little stunned that like Ministry of Sound doesn't have their, not the band, like the whole like group organization that does like Trance Nation and all that stuff. You know, that they don't have their own fucking big $40 DLC pack with 1 billion songs in it, because that's 100% right up their alley. Like, holy shit.
Dude,
You know.
I swear to God, if Odessa put something on Beat Saber,
I would love.
playing it.
They've got some great. I don't think all of their stuff would be a good fit, but a lot of it would.
Yeah,
So,
like I agree with that. Not
Behind
everything,
the Sun
but
would be awesome.
it would, considering there's like a huge, like, you know, drum section for it. So do I think everything would fit? No. But there's also songs on there where like you might be doing the beat to like the words that are there rather than necessarily grabbing the beat. Like, not everything that I've played on Beat Saber. I have played like some songs where, you know, they don't have heavy beats, but like they're still fun to play. So
yeah, I mean, as long as the rhythm's there. But, and honestly, like Odessa, it'd be really cool if they did something like what Guitar Hero did with Tool, where just the Tool songs in Guitar Hero had like special background visuals that were all like Tool artwork.
dude, could you
Like,
imagine laser lights while you were playing fucking Beat Saber? Ah!
Just the whole visual thing that they do on screen at their shows for those songs would be great. So, like, that'd be a really fucking cool dip. So, that's, I don't know. But no, I've had an itch, honestly, to get out the Oculus again and start fussing with it. And with the weather starting to get nice, it'd be kind of neat to be able to, you know, go play out on the back porch in the nice weather. Pistol Whip has been calling my name again. That, and I really do need to finish The Climb so I can justify getting the sequel, because the sequel looks awesome. The sequel has a lot of like original Mirror's Edge vibe to it that I like. So, but I say Zoe got to play The Climb for just about the first time, I think, a couple weeks ago. And yeah, you know what I'm talking about. Like, you're not holding your own body weight, but Jesus, by the time you're done playing it for an hour, you felt like you have been. And
I swear to God,
really
it
cool.
literally
It's pretty
felt like
too.
it was climbing.
It's a really well done game. It's a great piece of software. I enjoy it thoroughly. So, But yeah, I mean, if you want more on VR, LeGrew and I had an old episode a while back, breaking the
Yeah.
VR glass ceiling. It's well worth a listen to about why VR just hasn't managed to crack the mainstream and how to fix the issue. But again, nobody listens to us. God forbid we might know what we're talking about. Who knows?
Yeah, actual
But
users of product.
go fucking figure.
Right.
So, anyways, but yeah, that's it. That's what I've been playing. So let's take a minute before the break here and shout out our awesome sponsor, Imaginary Authors, helping you up your scent game with fragrances and scents for guys, gals, and non-binary pals. This week I've been dipping into my Memoirs of a Trespasser. It's reminiscent of my favorite, City on Fire, just a little more mellowed out. Really, really good. Always gets a great response. And again, too, not just fragrances, perfumes, colognes, but also check out their scented oils, candles, and bar soaps. All awesome. Bar soap, awesome. One of the best cleans I've gotten in the shower in a long, long while. Cannot recommend enough. But yeah, check them out. Link in the show notes down below. That's Imaginary Authors. And let's hit the break. And we're back with the third half of the show. This week we are taking a dive down the warp pipe. And we're looking at the recent early year layoffs throughout the industry, as well as what this might mean in terms of the shape of the industry and the medium that we consume, how it may shape and change that, and what, if anything, can and or should be done to stem the bleeding. So for anybody that's been not keeping track, already in 2024, we've had PlayStation, EA, and Microsoft all with big swaths of layoffs. And the general public reaction has not been great. It's been very much the fuck, quit fucking over developers that come in every day for years, work on your product, and then you show them the door as soon as you make a dime off of it. But let's dig in. Let's start with do we think that this can be stopped, or is this just a product of the time in our industry? Who wants to jump in?
So my biggest thing on if, all those layoffs can be stopped, a big part of it's just questioning, like, how much are people going to value long-term investments over short-term gains, right? Because you look at, like, what's happening more so than anything else, I'm pretty sure, is all these layoffs that you're hearing about in the industry are basically like, I heard this company laid off 100 people and it calls them to save $100,000. So if we lay off 200 people, we can save $200,000. And so it's all copycat layoffs are very much a real thing. And I think that's kind of what we're seeing more than anything else. People are just like, oh, okay, where's this fat that we can trim, without realizing there's actually very little quote unquote fat in just trimming what they can.
Yeah. Michael?
I just like the concept that a lot of these companies are basically laying off, the people who actually do things that matter for their company, and then at the same time claiming, hey, we made record profits.
Yeah.
Like, someone needs beat up for that shit publicly.
Like, I'm not saying that any of the layoffs that are going on are justifiable at all, but if you look at Sony specifically, Insomniac got hit with this wave of layoffs just months after Spider-Man 2 came out, a game which has sold over 10 million copies to date, had the biggest 24-hour launch of any Sony published game, and the fact that I'm not saying that anyone should have lost their jobs, but you would think at the very least, if you worked for a studio that made them that much money, your job would probably be safe.
Mm-hmm.
But no. And this isn't so much video games dealing with, but when Hasbro had their big thing of layoffs, it was Wizards of the Coast was the only portion of Hasbro that was profitable with Magic the Gathering and Dungeons and Dragons. Regardless of what you think of the business decisions that they've been
Right.
making
They're still
Hasbro
making
money,
money.
and they got affected by the layoffs. And the current Hasbro CEO used to be in charge of Wizards of the Coast. So, if anything, he would be biased in their favor. And the fact that he's still laying them off after they made them profits and he used to work for them just really goes to show no one is safe.
Mm-hmm. Zoe, you want to weigh in here?
Honestly, I don't think I could say anything that they already haven't. I mean, we're in the stage of like late stage capitalism where it's very common to see that the working people get screwed over, and um everyone's, people at the top are making money, but we're not seeing anything on our end with that money. And much like Wes said, for those companies like right now to be doing well and for them to lay off a bunch of people after they've made a whole bunch of money makes no sense. Other than they just want more money. I mean, it just, considering how much these companies make, part of me really just wants them to come out and say something. I'm like, where's the justification, if you have any, for this many layoffs? Like, what is the point? Like, I need some sort of reasoning behind this that is more than greed, because right now that's all it seems like is they just want more and more money, even though they just made a fuck ton, and that makes no sense to me.
The
Yeah,
only
s-
one I could even remotely think is anywhere close to justifiable or reasonable was Microsoft with the Activision Blizzard King, because that's two massive entities coming together, and I can imagine that there's probably at least a decent, if not a substantial amount of redundancy that they're hunting down in the process.
right.
Um, but that's the only one. But the rest of these, and it's
That
happened so often in the last 10 years or so, where game comes out, game does well, studio devs get fucked.
And there's only so much you can justify with that merger with the redundancy. And
Mhm.
like, I'd say I hate to be political, but you can't talk about this without getting a little bit political. Because, like, I know in the EU and a lot of European countries, if you're about to be laid off because of redundancy, they require you to get at least so much notice. But here in the
Right.
United States, because at will employment and right to work is so prevalent, you don't
Mhm.
get that same kind of decency. They say technically, because it's at will or right to work, you can leave whenever you want. Ooh, look at that perk. But you'll find that most people don't really want to leave their jobs until they know for a fact they can find a better one. And so the power imbalance, just because you technically can leave whenever you want, the amount of people who that benefits is so far and few between. So it's kind of like I said in the group chat when we were talking about all these layoffs. I don't know if I'm ready to outright call myself a socialist. I feel comfortable saying I'm left by American standards, but when you have people calling Joe Biden of all people a radical socialist, that doesn't say much. But every time we read another one of these headlines, that's like giant company that produced record profits, lays off staff. I just inch a little bit closer to getting to the point where I do feel comfortable saying that.
Mm-hmm.
So here's the big speculative question, though. I think this is where the real meat of the conversation is. How do you see this shaping the industry and the medium going forward, assuming that this pattern will probably still continue?
So I feel like a lot of the times we keep hearing people say like we're going to see a rise in indie games because of this or because of that. This is the one where, not the one, but one of those times where I actually do think it's going to happen because
That's where
after
my thought process has been this week.
because after Microsoft and Activision Blizzard King laid off a bunch of workers, not all of which were redundant, Toys for Bob announced that they were going to become an indie studio.
Mhm.
So on the one hand, the greedy person in me is like, darn it, I really want them to make a Banjo-Kazooie game. But the other, the human being in me was like, good for them. Because they had to, was it their UK office that got completely shut down? It was one office I know that is just completely gone.
Yeah. And like I said, that's kind of where my thought process has been. But I've been thinking on it more and probably a little more down the line, but we'll get there. Zoe, you want to toss in here? What do you think this is going to do to the landscape for gaming, assuming that the success followed by the layoff wave pattern continues? I don't have your sound.
There we go.
Mm.
Sorry, switch on my headphones was off. Part of me wonders about what it's going to do to quality of games. Because I feel like when you're in the game business and all you care about is making money, I feel like you care less about the quality and just, hey, is this going to make me a buck? Rather than putting out something that's actually, a really good game. And I don't know, I just feel like even us as consumers are just getting tired of the gaming industry as a whole, but I also just think we're getting tired of, capitalism as a whole. And if how anything is showing in like other areas of this where, there are people that are just up and leaving places, without that 2-week notice, where like in this industry, I know you can, but like people are just starting to like really not give a shit about who they work for. I mean, can you imagine being someone that still works for these companies and knowing just at like any moment, because they fucking feel like it, you can just be out the door, even if you did a good job, even if you did well. There is no reward for doing well. So I worry about game quality because, up tops just care about making money. And then the people that are still working there, I worry about, morale and what that's going to do to them working on their product. So my biggest thing is just quality of games, but also how often are we going to like see new games? What are we going to like see from that when you're laying so many people off?
Mhm.
One thing you kind of reminded me of is one thing I think we're going to have to start doing is rather than following what studios are making games is following what creators are making games, right? So like for example, if you are anyone who's in the digital TCG scene, Marvel Snap seems like it came out of nowhere and just blew up and got huge. That's
It was
because
a
the
lot of
guy
fun.
who's in charge of that made basically was the creative director of Hearthstone. Like everything people like about Hearthstone,
Yep.
that's him. And so he made Marvel Snap and he was like, listen, I'm not at the behold of Activision Blizzard King anymore. If you're going to, I'm going to make this game completely free to play friendly. If you want to invest money in the game, you can get better looking cards, but you'll be just as competitively viable if you don't put in a cent.
Yeah, that's a big piece of the appeal. It's well designed. It's a lot of fun. Michael, if you haven't piddled with it, you may enjoy it.
And
I'm
so,
not a fan of card games generally.
yeah. But the idea there is that
It's a
like
card game, but it's a very light card game.
it's kind of like how people are now following Kojima Studios rather than Konami after he had his public departure. Now that we're having all of these layoffs, we're going to have to start saying, like, okay, what did you work on before this? Because we now don't know for sure. We can't just say, oh, Insomniac made Spider-Man 2, and I loved that game. But they laid off half the staff who worked. I don't know how much of the staff actually worked on it that got laid off. But like if they laid off like a quarter or half of the people who did that and they go off and they make their own cool little Daredevil game, for example, well, we'll go play that instead or something along those lines. So I'm thinking another thing we're going to start seeing is the rise of more names with the game. Then you kind of made me think about that, Zoe, to also bring that up.
Yeah. Like I said, for what it's worth, kind of where my head's been at on the subject, a lot of it we've already talked about, but my brain keeps going further down the line, and it almost ends with us right back where we are now. It'll become cyclical. My brain says, one, yes, we will probably start to see the rise of the auteur in gaming. You know, we've gotten hints of that over the decades, and definitely a little more of it in recent years. You know, things like or people like Will Wright, Sid Meier, and then, you know, in the last 10 years or so, we've definitely seen a lot more of paying attention to an individual's project. Lucas Pope, who did Papers, Please and Return of the Obra Dinn. The guy, the person's name escapes me, but the individual that went from doing Donut County to Neon White. It's like, yeah, you know, now people are starting to pay attention to the individual driving creative force behind a game, much like we do with authors and, to a slightly lesser extent, filmmakers. So,
Ben Esposito was his name, by the way.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I knew it. I was blanking on it. But in any case, that said, I think from there, and if you follow me here, the smart people know exactly how we get there or get back to where we are right now, is that from there, I think we will start to see one of two things happen. Either these individual auteurs start collabing and working together and eventually merging into their joint studios, or you start to see smaller publishers pop up that would maybe be in the single to double A kind of tier, if you will, for lack of a better way to put it, and snapping up some of these individual creators and giving them more funding to work with. Eventually, it does well, it grows, and we're right back to AAA, and then they start working on figuring out how much of a successful product they can almost automate by duplication to churn out every couple of years or so, and then we're right back where we started, and the cycle starts all over again in another 20-30 years. But that's my grim outlook. But the silver lining there, and I think we're starting to see some of it a little bit already, because, you know, that's where some of these great indies come from, is they were at a large studio, had a passion project, and went for it. And so thanks. You did get Bloodstained though, so.
I did. And Bloodstained was actually a lot better than I was expecting it to be.
Mm-hmm. So, but I do think the silver lining is that we're going to have a period of 7 to 12, maybe 13 years, if we're being generous, of as great as indie gaming has been in the last 10 years, I think we will hit the next golden age of indie in that window. And God, I'm looking forward to it. Am I sad knowing that it'll probably mean that we loop back around again? Yeah. But man, we're going to get some really good stuff out of it for a while.
One thing I will say, it's kind of a response to the Mighty Number 9 claim, is I don't think we should let like a rough start once you've lost your AAA backing inherently mean you can't do better.
Oh, I agree
I'm not
completely.
yeah,
Like I was just making a stupid joke. Like Mighty Number 9 it was disappointing, but at the same time I would still buy anything he did because of his previous track record.
Right. And on top of that, like some studios are off to a rough start once they go indie, but then improve. Like if you played the original Ukulele and then Ukulele The Impossible Door, like there is a big leap in quality between those two.
Yeah.
So you're gonna have a lot of studios might have these growing pains, and I think we just need to like keep in mind, don't instantly say the first attempt was bad. I won't pay attention to you going that point forward. And I know you were just joking. I just kind of want like not let anyone get the wrong impression there.
Fair enough.
You know what I think is really interesting here, just on that note, is that the Mighty Number 9 joke persists for so long. But the irony is that Mighty Number 9 has kind of almost been the exception to the rule, where there haven't been that many Kickstarter, indie projects like that have bombed that hard.
Right.
So
I know Undertale was a Kickstarter-backed project. I believe Omori was as well. That one, it's not quite as big a name as Undertale, but still
What's the
has its
second one
fan
you said?
base. Omori.
I've never heard of that one.
I got some interesting stuff on it. I can
like
send you.
I've seen it.
Yeah, it's the one that Daryl did the video about. The it's
Isn't
the very
that the one where like
unsettling
you're in
one.
like two different like worlds kinda?
Yeah.
That's the one we saw at Best Buy, and we looked it up, and I was just like, what the fuck is this game?
It's got like a pencil drawn aesthetic on it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's interesting. You might have a solid interest in it, Michael. Like I said, I'll send you the thing on it. So, but do we think there's a way to stop the bleeding? I think might be the most pertinent question, or the most immediate question, though. Is there a way to, as consumers, to stop the bleeding here, as it's happening, or are we just resorting to no ethical consumption under capitalism?
So, as consumers, it's the closest thing that we can do, I mean, is not buy games that, are published by these studios. And someone's going to make the argument, oh, well, then they're really going to lose their job because they're not making money. Well, they're losing their job when the studios do make money anyway. So why reward bad practices?
Yeah.
So, I mean, I guess we could do that. Unfortunately, though, like part of the reality is like, if we are going to make gaming like a prime hobby of ours, or primary hobby, like you're going to keep consuming these, and there's going to be games that, you're going to say, hey, I really, really want this. And I'm guilty of it too. I'm going to be honest. Whereas like, this game looks so cool, I'm going to play it, buy it. And then it's not until after I've bought it that I hear about all the scummy practices the company's done. And I'm guilty of this. Say, sure, I won't buy this game at full price, but maybe on sale or on Game Pass or something like that. They still made money off of that.
Yeah.
Part of me
maybe I'm
thinks
just admitting I'm a bad person, but I'm someone who's trying. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you, Zoe.
No, you're okay. I thought you were done. That's the only reason I started talking. So you're good.
I was going to toss it to Michael because he was piping in there.
No, that's what ended up happening with me with Phoenix Rising. I didn't realize what a horrible, horrible company Ubisoft was. And I really enjoyed Phoenix Rising, mainly because it's a blatant Breath of the Wild ripoff.
Yeah.
But it was still a lot of fun and really well done. And then, as I said, I started to uncover like Ubisoft is a terrible, terrible company, and I don't appreciate a lot of their business practices and things like that. I felt kind of horrible for handing the money when I bought that, but
Right.
I mean, there's a reason why the phrase "there's no ethical consumption under capitalism" is a phrase, because these companies know you're going to keep buying from us because they will put out that one game where you're like, fuck, it just looks amazing, I have to play it, like you just do. And I think it's just up to the individual where they put that line. I didn't buy it, but I really wanted to. And it was more just because of financial reasons, not because of the other shit behind it. But like, I really like Diablo. And when Diablo 4 came out, I wanted that shit so hard. Had I had the money, probably would have bought it. Activision Blizzard is a terrible fucking company, but I would have fucking bought the game. And so, yeah, I wouldn't have drawn my line there. But like, for me, I refused to buy the Harry Potter game when it came out. And I am a diehard Harry Potter fan. Like, since I was a kid, I read all the books as they were coming out. I have tattoos on me for it. Like, I love Harry Potter. And I'm like, you just got to decide where you're going to make those cuts. Like, because in this day and age, if you only bought things, like, only from companies that weren't shit bags, you'd have a very small margin, in my opinion. Like, these companies are big and know that you will go to them no matter what. I'm like, who the fuck here does not shop at Walmart? They're a fucking terrible fucking company and how they run their shit, but we all still go and shop there. I mean, they're like that for a reason, because they know we're not going to stop. And I might be the pessimist here, but part of me is just like, at the end of the day, I don't think we as consumers can do anything. I mean, we can like raise our voices and, we can try and pull like a fucking Sonic where we bullied the fucking studio so hard they remade what he looked like. Like, we can try that, but there's no guarantee that's going to work. These companies really don't have any incentive to do it because they know we're going to fucking buy their shit anyway. I'm just like, like I said, I don't know if I'm the pessimist, but I'm just like, looking at just everything, I'm just like, they don't really have a reason to quit. I mean, they just made a fuck ton of money and laid people off, and they'll make more shit tons of money and still do whatever they want because they have the power and they can. I mean, ultimately, it's up to them to not be shit people.
And I'd also argue on your behalf, or along with you, Zoe. So like, this is partially in agreement and adding on to it. Like, you could try to spread the message of these companies doing bad stuff all you want. There are going to be people who just say, I don't care, right? Like, look how many people still bought Hogwarts Legacy despite how problematic not just J.K. Rowling, but the story of the game itself is. Like, imagine...
honestly, that's what drove me not to buy it. Initially, I was like, J.K. Rowling. And then I heard the plot and I was like, nah, get fucked.
Okay, I need to know what that is. I haven't heard this part.
Okay.
The game has a pro-slavery message.
Are you serious?
So in Harry Potter history, like,
I really wish I could have seen your face, Michael, for that.
It's part of the, like, I don't want to say genre. What am I thinking of? It's part of the, like, history
lore.
There you go. It's already part of the lore that this was a thing. It's just now in a game. So there was something called the Goblin Uprising, and basically it was the goblin saying, "Hey, we don't like being treated like second-class citizens. and you find out that basically, like, because if you think about it, humans are not the strongest magically. There are so many magical creatures, and they basically just squash them all so they can stay in power. But this specifically was the goblins being like, fuck your shit. This is not cool. And the, Death Eaters and shit ended up helping them with it. So they just got roped into like, well, they're evil because the Death Eaters are helping them and what they want is evil. So you literally have to put down this uprising and all they want is to be treated equally. And that's
Wow.
and so when I
fucked up.
heard that, I'm like, you want me to actively oppress people in a video game? Like, there are so many other stories you could have fucking done and picked. You could have made up a Harry Potter story and it would have been fine. And I'm like, I was even fine with the fact that you could fucking death curse people and kill them. Like, I was okay with that, okay? But, like, you want me, as part of the plot that is driving my playing of this game, to be actively oppressing people. Like, get fucked.
Right.
God damn.
And so, not that you're wrong about that, but getting back to what I was
Yeah.
saying.
Yeah.
So, like, imagine telling people who, like, all their gaming that they do, like, there are people who only buy the new Call of Duty, only buy the new EA Sports game for the sports that they like, only buy comic book games because they like Spider-Man or whatever. There are kids who only buy Pokemon. Imagine trying to convince them and having to be on your moral high ground and be on your soapbox and be like, you can't buy this game because this company is screwing over its employees. There are a lot of people who are just going to tell you, I don't care. I don't care that EA laid everyone off. I like football. I want to play Madden. I don't like that. So I don't care that Sony laid everyone off. I like Spider-Man. I'm going to play the new Spider-Man game. And granted, this wasn't a layoff one, but I don't care that Game Freak put literally zero effort into making the new Pokemon games. I'm 7 years old. I'm going to ask my parents for it anyway.
No,
And can you
I will
imagine being a parent and like, because you got to think a 7-year-old has no idea that this shit is happening, but like you as an adult, and so I'm like, your kid's asking you for this thing
Now you're
that is
kind of in the
problematic, and so you're in the middle of like, do I make my kid happy or do I stand by my goddamn values? And depending on the age of the kid, it's not like you can tell them, oh, well, they're a shit company, so we're not buying you that game. A 7-year-old doesn't fucking care about that.
right.
honestly, I was just about to say I'm sitting here playing it in my head thinking how would I explain this to Liv and how would she take it? And I feel like it's doable depending on the child for one.
Agreed.
But I do think it's doable. Like in my head, I'm sitting here thinking Liv wants something that's made by a shit awful company that I refuse to, hand my money over to. And it'd be a case of, letting her know it's like, look, honey, I know you really want it, but the people that make it are not good people and they do things that we don't want to give them money for to let them keep being not good people. So instead of this, how about we find you something similar and we'll do that. And maybe we'll even find something better and you'll be surprised.
And so you're
And I'm
you
pretty sure
can
that Liv would maybe have a little bit of feels, but I think if I laid it out to my 7, almost 8-year-old like that, she would probably be okay.
I would say I've done that. So I've told my kids because I've done it at times that if they like brought me money, I'd go and like pick them up lunch. Like it's not happening every day, but and one of them was like, "Yo, I want Chick-fil-A," and I'm like, "I'm not going to Chick-fil-A." I'm like, I don't care that this isn't even my money. I'm not going to Chick-fil-A. And they, of course, asked why. And I said, I don't support what the people that own Chick-fil-A do. So I don't go there. And that was it.
Yeah.
And they understood and immediately picked something else for the life of me. I can't remember what the other thing they picked was, but they were like, oh, okay, I'm going to do this instead.
And while I get that, another big problem with depending on the parents to know if the company is good is parents don't always share hobbies with their kids, you know?
Mm.
Like you are a gaming parent, so you can be informed on that decision, but parents need their own hobbies and they can't realistically be informed on every single aspect of everything their child wants.
No, agreed. I'm just saying it's something that when that
No.
awareness is there, don't ignore it.
Oh yeah.
So,
But yeah, this isn't me faulting you, because if anything, I'm applauding you for being the kind of parent who can do that, you know? But yeah. Long story short, I think shit's fucked for now. Hate to
Yeah.
say it.
Yep.
so I do think that there is like I said, I think part of the silver lining here though is that at least for us, the people that buy and play the games, that the alternatives are going to get a lot better and more abundant in the coming years. It's probably going to take a little bit of time to get there, but I think it'll get there, and I think that those of us that are informed, should. I don't think we should get preachy about it, but I do think we should help encourage and maybe help guide those that are, open and willing towards some of those alternatives. You get somebody that's a big Call of Duty person and that's their one game every year kind of thing. Be like, hey, look, not identical, but there's a lot here that I think you dig, and little cleaner conscience. And I think you can apply that to most everything with greater and greater ease in the coming years, is going to be my suspicion. So I think that's the biggest thing. The other is, case of I'll take Prince of Persia as an example here. Yeah, it looks great and I want to play it. I won't buy it new. I'll snap up a used copy, because at that point I'm at least not throwing them any more money.
Mhm.
So
that's what I did with the Hogwarts game, which
Yeah.
I still actually haven't.
It's what
Yeah, I still haven't actually played it. Like, it's still like I bought it, off somebody brand new, like the deluxe
Yeah.
version of it. Haven't even pulled the shrink wrap off it yet. Did not know what I learned about it today. So,
I still plan on buying the game. Like, once the plot gets there, I probably won't, but like I literally just want to run around Hogwarts. And so I keep an eye when we go to like our game resale shop for it.
Secondhand stores, yeah.
Yeah. And so if it pops up, I'll buy it. And just so, like I
Right.
said, I can run around Hogwarts, and I'm like, I will ignore the plot for as long as the game will let me, just so I can run around and
Right.
be a student at Hogwarts, because I refuse to play the plot. I will not give in.
So,
Like, I
The
felt
other-
dirty buying it just because of the whole J.K. Rowling thing and what a monster she turned out to be. But like, as I said, that whole I was completely unaware of what you just told me, and wow,
yeah.
so fucked up.
I think the other thing too is, in cases where, like Michael, what you were saying with Phoenix Rising and Ubisoft, is a lot of times we see and we find out after the purchase, after it's too late, and the best thing you can do is at that point just take that knowledge and go forward.
Yeah.
There's no point in guilting somebody over something they didn't know.
hmm
As long as you're willing to make a change going forward.
Agreed.
But But anyways, I think that's a great place to wrap this up. Quick shout out and a thank you to our awesome sponsor, Imaginary Authors. I want to say thank you to friends and family for coming and hanging out, and thank you to everybody that tuned in and listened this week. You can and should find us on all of your favorite podcatchers, YouTube as well. We're there, and come jump into the Discord and come say hi. And yeah, I think that covers it. Let's say goodnight, everybody.
Good night, everybody.
Good night, everybody.
You can't see it, but I'm waving.
And yeah, that's it. This has been the World 1-1 podcast, powered by the World 1-1 Podcast Network. Press start to engage your mind. Peace.